Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. We have an all Coleman staff today. Katie out of undisclosed Seattle area. Katie, Joseph, undisclosed LA. Please, we have your questions. We have a bunch of questions. There's a lot of news happening, which we're going to go through, attempt to put it into context for you. Well, go back to the certificate that maybe because and we thank you for your support. The numbers keep growing, and thank you for the new viewers. Now, what you can do with these, you can download them, keep track of them, and it helps satisfy the question, which is answered by to SBA and to your regulators of what you're doing for training. Let's see. Lance is off because basically when we have a webinar, Lance takes off from the Daily Show. So he'll be on in an hour on the SOP 5010-6. If you want to register late, just send an email to Joseph. We'll do the paperwork. Also, what we're doing is we're offering it in 2 sessions. It's the same content, and you're eligible to attend one or both, either one. So that's how we are operating now. And I know Lance has put a lot of work into it. So that's going to be a great presentation. Hey, questions. Number 1, do you think oversight is needed in the Paycheck Protection Program? Joseph, why are you asking this question of our audience?
This is what was discussed in depth yesterday at the House hearing with Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin. They were talking about the report that they published. It's a 23-page report on the oversight and the PPP program from April through now. So we have a bunch of stats, but that was a big topic of discussion yesterday.
I have no issue with those responses. Katie, how do you feel?
Let's see. Yes, 67. Yeah, I think that they do need some oversight, especially since getting this program up and running, they had to rush some things. Obviously, they wanted to get to the issues as quickly as possible, but it does need oversight, and I think that's a fair response.
The next question is, and because they talked about this, and Joseph's going to cover this in depth after the poll questions, but one of the things that they talked about is the economy is coming close to a full recovery. In your footprint, is this true or not? Let's start with the easy one. Since we are not quite international, but what's going on in the Seattle area, Katie?
We're looking at a little bit more of a recovery here. Things are starting to open a little bit, but there are still limitations. You can only have about 5 people at a restaurant sitting at each table, and things like that. So it is a little bit closed, but we're opening up a little bit here, much more open than Southern California was when I left there a couple weeks ago.
And Joseph, you're LA County. What's going on with LA County?
Yeah, I agree. The theme of this summer is to use all of the bike lanes, to use that for outdoor seating for their restaurants. So there's many small businesses that are getting creative in Santa Monica and Venice, and it's still, there's only so much capacity you can return to by using that model, with having your entire dining room shut down for the last.
Well, all I know is Orange County, I get to have my second haircut of 2020 on Saturday. So
it's about time.
one step at a time. Number 3, what percentage of American small businesses got the funding they needed from the CARES Act? The source on this is the Secretary Treasurer's testimony before the House yesterday.
Correct. Yeah, I'll let people vote in, but I was shocked by the number.
Yeah. Now these are administration numbers, so we'll see. Joseph, what's the answer?
The answer is 85%. He said 85% of all of Main Street got the funding that they needed from PPP. So that is coming directly from the top. They talked about that in depth, but and I hope you guys download the report, and they do show those numbers as well. But higher than I thought. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. All right, Joseph, bring us up to date. The hearing lasted a couple hours. Tell us what happened.
Well, the House is in. The Senate gets back next week, so the House is talking, and they're trying to get the next stimulus funding, and they, Mnuchin, I think he was up there for a couple hours yesterday, trying to figure out the correct dollar amount, what Democrats and Republicans or what the administration can do. The main takeaway is that he said the PPP has been an overwhelming success for the Main Street economy, for small business. And
what was that's obviously the administration's standpoint or viewpoint. How did the House take it? How did the Democrats in the House take that testimony, Joseph?
It was positive. I think people are overwhelmingly a fan of small business. They voted for that bipartisan, so they hit them on a couple things when it comes to the PPP fraud that has been, exposed and some of the Monday morning quarterbacking. But for the most part, the Congresswomen, they were on both sides. They were supportive of what the program was able to do and the speed and which the recovery came about.
Katie, is that I know you're following this also. Do you still feel positive that this is going to become a bipartisan solution?
I think they're working toward a bipartisan solution because everybody, especially in this particular issue, everybody cares about small businesses. They're the backbone of the American economy, and we really need to get something working. I think they're trying to find something they can agree upon right now, especially with the elections coming up and everything. They want to make sure that they're getting reelected, and so they're trying to come up with the best bill that will get them reelected as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all concerned about. I don't criticize them for that. At the end of the day, we're all are concerned about our jobs. We want to do a good job, so that's the nature of the beast. We have John Riosti on tomorrow with ABA, but Joseph, go ahead and complete your other thoughts on the hearing.
Really, this report was what they kept on sticking to, and I hope you guys read it. It really is a good historical analysis from the beginning, from March throughout the mid-April, how they were able to get $350 billion out in 14 days, and then eventually end the summer out with $530 billion. And then he focused a lot on the fact that there needs to be a quick resolution, and I think we're getting closer to when the Senate is coming back. We're getting excited of what the next phase is going to be. I think he wants to work with both sides. I think he answered the questions, and he had, a lot of criticism with some of the congresswomen that were trying to get reelected on both sides. But I think he held up pretty well and presented his case. So This was what they were talking about, really criticizing him, more than $1 billion of the PPP entire portfolio. So that's of the $530 billion, and then roughly 10,000 loans were fraudulent. And so they're coming out with these stories that he took, and he answered. He said, we had to get it out quickly. That was what we did, and that's the result of that action. So.
Katie, what of those loans? What is the percentage of the loans that are problematic?
I haven't seen an exact number, and maybe Joseph heard it during the talk the other day, but I think it's a very, very small amount. I mean, we're talking about a program that's over, what is it, 500 billion. 1 billion is a small portion of that.
Some senator once said, $1 billion is a rounding error. No, but what I appreciate, and what's different than during the Great Recession, it took years and years and years for the feds to indict these community bankers for misuse of stimulus funds. Back then it was called TARP. And here they're going after them right away, which I think is great I don't have a problem with the news. I think it's getting out that, guys, don't defraud the government because the government's going to come after you.
He wanted to, let me interrupt on that.
No, go ahead, Joseph.
He wanted to really reiterate the fact that every loan over $2 million will be audited individually, every single one.
Can you go more in depth in that? What does he mean by that?
Every PPP loan. So the representatives that were critical of the entire program we're saying, there's going to be rampant fraud, especially with the big loans and some of the bigger lenders back in April. And he said $30 billion was returned, and we made that correction, and everything over $2 million automatically will be audited by the agency. So
what percentage of the loans in the program are over 2 million? We know 85% are less than 150. Do we know how much are over 2 million?
the big loan, I don't want to guess, but it's under 10%, obviously. So, so I don't know off the top of my head, but he was saying that is a big, issue going forward and to prepare for those audits. So,
well, I've always said, I think given the choice of getting it right or getting it out fast, we had to get it out fast. So, and that sometimes speed to market, it isn't perfect, but I personally like the fact that if there's fraud, they're jumping onto it very quickly. They're identifying it and they're working to solve it. Katie, you did what's going on with this report? I know that you're following these specialized reports for small business. Visa put out a report. What did it say?
So Visa was looking at how small businesses were using their money over the summer, especially when it comes to credit cards, Visa cards, and also whether they're getting small business loans. And they found that a third of small businesses were not meeting even half of their annual revenue that they were last year. And to offset that, they're decreasing their spending and looking for external financial support, mostly within the PPP program and some other small business loans as well. So they're seeing a sharp reduction in use of especially Visa and credit. And they're definitely using more small business loans.
Yeah, obviously that's also the PPP. That's an interesting stat. During the Great Recession, we were all concerned about credit card debt because everyone was running up their credit cards. And again, the big difference between today and 10 years ago is credit is available. We didn't have credit available. And I'm sorry for keep harping on that, but I think we need to put this all in the context. The government's trying to solve this. They learned from the Great Recession that we need capital for Main Street, and so far it's working, and we certainly need a 2.0. What do we have left over? $130 billion from PPP that everyone wants to reprogram somehow, correct?
Yeah. And I think what you said earlier is to get it out faster is more efficient and effective than maybe taking your time and getting all the logistics. He was saying that as well for the next round of stimulus funding is to make a deal faster than not sit on it for the next 30 days or so. So he really wants the Senate and the Congress to work together.
Well, good reporting, you two. Okay, Peter asked the question: have any banks been paid on forgiveness requests yet? I don't have the answer, and
Secretary said yesterday the portal is open.
But have they paid? Submit. Have they paid any of them?
He didn't say that. I don't know. So.
I haven't heard of that. Maybe that's Michael. Make a note of that for a poll question tomorrow. That has anybody been paid on forgiveness? That's interesting. Good question, Peter. We'll try to get a better answer for you. Barry asked the question: can lenders do it? That should be a similar change in terms versus having to completely redo the loan. Is there a minimum threshold that requires this process? I'm not aware of a minimum threshold, and I'm gonna have to. Boy, we're punting on all the questions now. I'm doing the tap dancing, Katie. I think I know the answer. I'm not going to guess. We'll let Lance answer that tomorrow, so we'll hold that over. And finally, Pamela said we are in conversation on fully dispersed construction loans. We've been receiving the payments, but due to everything going on in the world, there have been delays. They may not be completely finished. How do we handle the SBA payments? Well, you're not going to get paid unless the project is completed. So that is a glitch in the system. And once it's fully dispersed, then we can go ahead and hopefully there'll be some type of PPP 2.0 that will handle that. So the answer to that one, Pamela, is not really, we don't really know what's going to happen on that. But that is, again, one of the topics that Congress and the staff is aware of. And Russ, and let's see, we talked to Russell. I'm going to hold your question over to tomorrow. And let's see, we talked about the webinar. Just send an email to Joseph, and we're talking about the new SOP 5610. A lot of interesting and important changes on that. And then we will repeat it on the 9th.
If you can't make it today, yeah, we're going to do the same next Wednesday as well.
Well, very good. So tomorrow we have John Riosti. He'll bring us more up to date in terms of what's going on in Congress, and his initial prediction, which I mocked him, was after Labor Day, and obviously John was right and I was wrong. So, but hopefully we get it done soon from that. Hey, thank you for joining us today for the Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
See you guys next time.